Y'all, at this point, I just leave this in my permanent assets for my live streams cuz this is the mood every damn day. Every damn day. Love the name. Actually, let me take this down so we can actually see. No. Great name. Just no. I am actually wearing an earring that says no thanks. Welcome in my sweetie pie. One of my realest ones. Good to see you, friend. Hey Mickey, tuning in from Twitch I see. Welcome in. Hi Felicia Felicia. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Um uh-huh. What a week. What a year, really. Thanks, boo. I would say that this whole situation with these DUI hires, this I wanted to say at first, oh my God, it's like life is imitating Veep. Remember with Julia Louis Dreyfus? But this is actually worse. Like, these people are dumber than the characters on Veep or In the Loop, which is by the same guy. It was a movie that he did before Veep. Great flick, by the way. You should definitely go watch In the Loop if you liked Veep. Matter of fact, Patreon fam, let me know in the chat if you would want to do that for a movie night because we have to pick our flick for our April movie night. Food and words, that's high praise. Thank you. I got some things to say, all right. Welcome in Creativity Unbound. Hi, our journey called life. Veep is so real. So before we get going, I want to let y'all know that I am going to keep this relatively short because one, y'all know me and them feature length runtimes. ContraPoints just put up another video. I think it's 2.5 hours, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able. And I love ContraPoints content, but all right. So anyway, I'm going to keep this live relatively short because I do, more importantly, need to keep it short because I have some news clips that I want to show, and I can't do that here on YouTube. I'm going to be ending the stream before I get to the clips that I want to play and then firing up a whole new one that is going to be on Twitch only. And the reason for that is I'm not being petty, although I would love it if you followed me over on Twitch. Link is in the D box. But I do private streams for my patrons every week. And I simulcast them to Twitch as well so that people who aren't on my Patreon but are able and available to watch live can join on Twitch, watch for free, and then it's locked up for patrons only, right? Well, I recently got a copyright strike on a fucking private unlisted video on YouTube because they felt that I was not being transformative enough in my commentary on a clip that I used with attribution, and whenever you use copyrighted content, rather, it does have to be transformative in nature for it to be covered under the so-called fair use clause. They are apparently trolling unlisted private content to block it globally. So that's what happened. Luckily, because I was simulcasting to Twitch, I was able to salvage the video and my patrons can still access it. But that's going to be why I'm going to cut things short once I get to the part where I actually want to play clips of Drum from them homina homina homina-ing over this whole situation so that we can actually kind of react together and kiki about it. That will be on Twitch only. So I'm going to cut this stream and then be on Twitch only. Maybe we'll take a little intermish so people can use the bathroom and refresh and whatnot. So that is how we is doing it. Oh yes. Oh yes, Binyam. We all know the GOP is all about projection. They keep trying to lie and say they didn't know, but this is amateur hour all over again. We been new. Oh, Mickey, double duty. Had a little trouble getting that out. Double duty on Twitch and YouTube. Your house rep is holding a town hall via conference call where you can't say ish. I mean, obviously, all of this is pathetic. Signal, I use Signal. Me, a civilian, not an elected official who has the ability nor the desire to drop bombs on people. And yet I still feel like I need something a little bit more clandestine than even Signal for some of the things that I need to talk about with my comrades. Like, we have protocols in place. Signal ain't even secure enough for the bullshit we're doing. Why not just do a Zoom meet at this point with the nuclear codes? Like, why don't y'all just send like a Zoom link for your war planning meet? Lord of mercy. George Jefferson says, KRS said, I want all my daughters to be like Maxine Waters. Similarly, I want my daughter to be like you. Peace, where you been? My parents would probably advise you to dream a different dream. But I appreciate you. I've been around, George. I'm making content constantly, just not here on YouTube. One reason for that is obviously the suppression. We'll see what happens with this stream even. But yeah, like it's just... But I do plan to get into a better groove with doing just posted videos where I can control the likelihood of getting, suppressed or what. Well, I can't control that. But in terms of, watching my language, I can bleep and things like that, which helps with edited content. Because I do want to maintain my presence here, because this is how most people find me. So people who actually F with me, I think I've already said the F word before this, but whatever. People who actually F with me will be able to find me on YouTube and then, just follow me to somewhere else where I'm actually way more active, including Twitch, where I'm simulcasting this as we speak. Ijama says, what's that meme of the guy in the hot dog suit saying he's trying to figure out who crashed the hot dog shit car? That's what's happening right now. Hi, Catherine, and hi, River. Nice to see you both in here, both tuning in from Twitch. Love it. So the main reason I wanted to get on here, though, is I think there's some things that I need to say, that I need to get off my chest about this whole situation, that I don't think I'm seeing other people bringing up, which, as I've said many times to y'all, is the impetus for all of the content that I do. I only really want to speak on things when I feel like I'm voicing a perspective that isn't necessarily being heard. And this perspective kind of ties into a point I have made about Drumpf and liberals, supposedly in opposition with each other, but not really. I mean, I remember talking about this in I think it was a Patreon video during his first term. But when it comes to Drumpf and liberals, going back to that first term, the point I was making, and I still believe, is that liberals in general are not bothered by Trump's policies because they have the same agenda and they have the same policies. They're just bothered by him because he's embarrassing. And that's the crux of what I'm about to get into. Because there's a lot of talk about the incompetence that caused this whole whiskey leaks, as a lot of people have termed it, and I think that's effing brilliant. Whiskey leaks. Whoever came up with that, applause, applause, applause. Yes, food and words. We're all tired of being on this timeline. Camo's also doing the double stream. And thank you, Nick. We have George and Wheezy in the chat. That's sending me. That is sending me. The Jeffersons is before my time, but I was a big fan of Sherman Hemsley on Amen as a kid. Like, I remember my grandma and my aunties, which were actually my grand aunties because they were my grandmother's sisters, they were fans of Amen. So I kind of like, one of my core, like, little TT memories is watching Amen episodes. Anyway, Ruben! Anyway, okay. So, Whiskey-gate. The incompetence is obvious, right? But what I'm not really seeing is a discussion about the fact that the United States is bombing Yemen. And why is the United States bombing Yemen? Like everyone's just cool with that part, but they're like, oh, these idiots, these washed up frat boys. Um, Now, first off, it needs to be said that much like Donald Drumpf, Jeffrey Goldberg, the journo who was put in this chat, is clearly a Zionist. And that's kind of the whole point I'm making about like both sides having the same agenda, but they like them hoes just like to fight in public. Um, and the fact that he's a Zio is evident from one of the opening paragraphs from the Monday bombshell, that first drop on the Atlantic, which I normally would never read otherwise, but here we go. The one that was called "The Trump Administration Accidentally Texted Me Its War Plans," and I'm going to read y'all the paragraph in question. Let me just share my screen. Okay. So, scrolling on down. So, bloody, bloody, blah. That's kind of him just setting things up in these first two little paragraphs, but I want to jump down to the fourth opening paragraph. The story technically begins shortly after the Hamas invasion of southern Israel in October 2023. So that's already giving you a clear positioning on where this individual stands. This is clearly a Zionist. The Houthis, an Iran backed terrorist organization whose motto is "God is great, death to America, death to Israel, curse on the Jews, victory to Islam," soon launched attacks on Israel and on international shipping, creating havoc for global trade. Throughout 2024, the Biden administration was ineffective in countering these Houthi attacks. The incoming Trump administration promised a tougher response. All right, so that lets you know where this person is politically. Um, uh huh. That's what they want you to think, isn't it? Anyway, the scandal of the signal situation seems to have subsumed the fact that the United States is currently bombing Yemen, let alone why. And even before I read the signal messages, I figured that the bombing was because Yemen has been one of the most visible supporters of Palestinians by providing active and direct resistance to the settler colonialist project known as Israel. It's retaliatory. Immediately, that's where my mind went. I was just like, oh, okay. So now they're hollering back at Yemen for blocking weapons deliveries and other things to Israel. Like, that's what this is. Because we have to keep this in mind when we hear the way that people, organizations, and nation states that rebel are portrayed. We heard that language in that article just now. In most media, they've successfully coded the word rebel on its own, like just the word rebel, Houthi rebels. Rebels is now being used to signal that it is inherently bad to anyone who doesn't know better. Really, like rebels automatically means bad guys. If you let Fox News and MSNBC tell it, let me make that clear. Because what about when there's so-called rebels who are trying to overthrow unjust authority? What about those rebels? 2 months in, and the anti-war president is bombing someone. I mean, really, it's wild. And I wanted to bring this up. This is just something that I saw in my internet wanderings. Anti-colonial resistance will always be portrayed as savagery to hide the very real savagery of the colonizer. Let's say that again. Anti-colonial resistance will always be portrayed as savagery, terrorism, to hide the very real savagery of the colonizer. So that's something to keep in mind at all times. Yemen has been blocking weapons shipments to the genocidists, and while what I'm about to show you in a minute is just from a couple of weeks ago, Yemen was vowing last year to continue to block shipments to Israel for as long as Israel continued to perpetrate famine, and illness upon Palestinians as part of their genocidal strategy. Again, just two prongs of it. I mean, the airstrikes are probably the main prong and the street executions, but famine and illness. Because as we speak, Israel is blocking food, medicine, and other aid from reaching people in Gaza. That's happening right now. Israel killed at least 39 people, probably more because we know that these numbers are never the accurate ones, they're always lower. Israel killed at least 39 people and left at least 120 injured in strikes in just the past 24 hours. So basically, today, we can add that tally. I suppose they're just defending themselves again, though. Right. I mean, this is fascism in action because it's the suppression of dissent. They can throw that label on anyone who is not going along with the program, who is not buying a doggone uh, Tesla dump truck, because they do look like dumpsters and things. I see them, unfortunately, frequently here in Los Angeles. And every time I'm like, wow, what a dumb bitch. That's legit the thought that goes through my head. Like, I can't even see inside who's driving most of the time, but just, wow, what a dumb bitch is the first thought that comes to my head every time. So I think in this community, we can all see through the BS with regard to the state that unilaterally ended the ceasefire yet again, acting like they're somehow the victims in all of this. Consistent with that. And here comes, meathead bully United States to back them up by bombing Yemen, one of the only entities standing up to Israel. Because, to me, that's a big story in addition to the signal clown car shit. I also am wondering, how is it that even with mainstream outlets underreporting the number of people martyred and displaced since October of year before last, even when they juke those stats, it's an unbelievably horrific number. Even when they're cutting it into less than half, it's atrocious. Well, unless it's, a MAGA person or a liberal, in which case they don't care about anything except their preferred genocide as being the one dropping the bombs. That's what it comes down to. So I realize that people, liberals in particular, are frothing at the mouth because of this signal chat. And they're sarcastically like, oh, but Hillary's emails, or, Kamala would never. But I to that energy, I'm like, girl, not too much. Not too much. Because while I don't think this kind of blunder would have necessarily happened, poised genocide is still genocide. So I just don't want it to be missed that while the signal thing is really a wow, the actions being discussed in that chat are almost certainly the same ones a Democratic administration would have carried out. I wanted to make that point at the top. The Democrats told us so. I'll just bring this up briefly. They told us so. So Yemen would still be getting, the date on that is October 2024. Yemen would still be getting bombed right now. It's just that no one would be talking about it on a glorified version of WhatsApp. That is the difference. So yeah. She would have sold some bombs at least, one-eyed owl. So I just had to get that off my chest because I think that there's a lot of faux virtuousness on behalf of Democrats, liberals writ large right now because of how stupid this current administration obviously is. But it's also like, well, they're just doing the same thing y'all would have done. They're just clowns. They're just clowns about it. Yes, Fila. Political parties as a whole fight to maintain their wealth, get rid of all of them. That is explicit. I mean, we talked about that a couple videos ago. We're like going back to the Federalist Papers. They were like, yeah, we got to keep poor people disempowered. Here's how we do it. All right, so next up, I wanted to show you. Well, actually, you know what? Before I even do that, I want to go back to this Atlantic, the original article from Monday, real quick. So let me share my screen again. Okay, cool. So we have our little intro. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. Yada, yada, yada. Jumping down past that paragraph I read earlier, this is where Pete Hegseth and I come in. On Tuesday, March 11th, I received a connection request on Signal from a user identified as Michael Waltz. And one thing that I've also found very odd about this is, again, as a person who uses Signal, you don't accidentally add a person to a group unless you're just that inept. And I was just like, maybe there's another person in the administration named Jeffrey Goldberg, and he thought he had a different Jeffrey Goldberg, but that does not seem to be the case. So the stupidity is truly breathtaking. Like, was this an accident? Because how? How do you accidentally add a journalist unless there's more than one guy with the same name? But anyway, he says that he gets this request because you have to be added manually to groups, especially depending on your settings with the group on Signal. On Tuesday, March 11th, let's jump over to this article. This is from AP, mainstream news, but never mind. Yemen's Houthi rebels say any Israeli vessel in nearby Mideast waterways, again, a target. What's the date on this? March 11th. The same day, Houthi rebels warned shippers early Wednesday that, quote, any Israeli vessel traveling through nearby Mideast waters is now a target as Israel continues to block aid to the Gaza Strip. Same day that this whole chat gets started. So again, I'm just trying to make it clear. This is clearly retaliation and support of Israel. All right, so then today, The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg and Shane Harris, his co-author, are back because they just dropped all the texts. There were some, questionings going on yesterday with Tulsi and the rest of them. And they were like, it wasn't classified. It wasn't classified. It wasn't classified. So I guess The Atlantic said, all right, bet. If it wasn't classified, we're just going to drop the whole album. And that's what they did on today. And this is an interesting play because it's sort of like calling their bluff. Like if it isn't classified, then there's no retaliation that can be taken. All of y'all, all the way up to Trump himself, have been like, no, there was nothing confidential. There's nothing that we needed to worry about having classified in there. Not to mention the additional layer of there needing to be a record of all government conversations and decisions that are of this nature, of, military exercises and whatnot. There needs to be a record. And the Signal group chat, if I'm not mistaken, was set to erase all messages after 4 weeks, which is, it's against their own rules. So isn't that fun? You and me both, young Linda. Like, I would not be reading The Atlantic for any other reason. But here we are. Here we are. So about that Signal chat, like, not them trying to be cute. This went up at 8:19 a.m. Eastern time on today. So the tea's not so lukewarm. The tea's actually still pretty fresh on today. But yeah, he's kind of recapping everything that happened since the Monday drop, where he had redacted parts of the conversation that he was privy to before he actually left the chat. And I was telling Ajama earlier in the comments when I posted this, the link to the live over on Patreon, it's just like, he's better than me. I would have stayed in that chat and kept on getting receipts and just building a bigger case. Jeff Goldberg, you blew it, honestly. But maybe he was worried about legal repercussions for himself. And yeah, so anyway, he's kind of recapping The statements by Hegseth, Gabbard, Ratcliffe, and Trump, combined with the assertions made by numerous administration officials that we are lying about the content of the signal text, have led us to believe that people should see the text in order to reach their own conclusions. There is a clear public interest in disclosing the sort of information that Trump advisors included in non-secure communications channels. Legit, like something you get in the App Store or the Play Store, especially because senior administration figures are attempting to downplay the significance of the messages that were shared. And that's the bingo right there. Experts have repeatedly told us that use of a signal chat for such sensitive discussions poses a threat to national security. As a case in point, Goldberg received information on the attacks 2 hours before the scheduled start of the bombing of the Houthi positions. If this information, particularly the exact times American aircraft were taking off for Yemen, had fallen into the wrong hands in that crucial 2-hour period, American pilots and other American personnel could have been exposed to even greater danger than they ordinarily would face. The Trump administration is arguing that the military information contained in these texts was not classified, as it typically would be, although the president has not explained how he reached this conclusion. Trump doing Trump things. Ajama says she understands dipping after the bomb started dropping, but she would have stayed in there too. I was just like, if they ain't noticed me, yeah, I'd be just click, screenshot. So, yeah. Anyway, it's a lot more blah, but if we scroll all the way down, here are the receipts. And I'm just going to, can I make this? There we go. That's a little bit smaller, so we can see more better. Houthi PC small group, 19 members. Michael Waltz added you to the group. Disappearing message time was set to 1 week, so not even 4. 1 week. And then he added MAR, but obviously we know who everyone is at this point. So yeah, this is the full text thread over there on Signal. And it's not super interesting, to be honest. I know a lot of people were kind of scandalized by Vance kind of deferring, I suppose, from what his dad wants him to do. He says, team, I am out for the day doing an economic event in Michigan, but I think we are making a mistake. 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. So again, that's the canal that Yemen has been using to block supplies being shipped into Israel. Doesn't really affect the U.S. So why would we be bombing them? Oh, because the U.S. loves Israel and they want to help them continue to perpetrate their genocide. 40% of European trade does. So it matters more to Europeans whatever Yemen is allowing and disallowing. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this or why it's necessary. It isn't necessary. You're just trying to maintain empire. The strongest reason to do this is, as POTUS said, to send a message. Bingo. But I am not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. And there it is. It always comes down to money anyway. That's why they're in bed with Israel in the first place. It's always about money. Turning Gaza into a fucking Riviera. I am willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns to myself, but there's a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. So essentially, they need time. Oh, yes. Swapped out any logos for companies that are, in bed with the current administration, or with any of them, honestly, because get rid of all of these parties as far as I'm concerned. I was just like, we don't need a little IG bug there anymore. Let's just put my dog. That's my logo now. But yeah, this particular message came out in the initial release, in the Monday drop, so that's not new, but I think it's pretty illuminating. They need time to manufacture consent. That's what JD Vance thought anyway. We need time to build this case so that people are going to be cool with it when we bomb Yemen. Lucky for him, people are cool with it because they're so distracted by the fact that this was done on Signal. That's the story now. Anyways, they kind of keep going on and on, but We might be able to get more into this when I end this stream on YouTube and we move over to Twitch, because I don't want to be on YouTube too long. I want to keep this kind of brief. But here we go. So here we go. This is the stuff that was at least in part redacted yesterday. Hegseth, team update. Time now, 11:44 Eastern. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. We've got the jets. We've got the weapons. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike, like, this is chilling, honestly. Strike drones on target at 2:15 p.m. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop, pending earlier trigger-based. I don't know why that's in quotations. Targets. Chilling. More to follow per timeline. We are currently clean on OPSEC. That's Operation Security. And that aged like milk, didn't it? Godspeed to our warriors. This is why I am as skeptical as I am about Christianity in America. I will say a prayer for victory. 2 prayer hand emoji reactions. Like, this is what y'all pray for? This is what y'all, okay. This is why it's also giving WhatsApp. It's giving WhatsApp fucking moms and uncles. Ugh. Waltz. VP, building collapsed, had multiple positive ID. Pete Carilla, the IC, amazing job. Vance, what? Michael Waltz typing too fast. The first target, their top missile guy, we had positive ID of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and now it's collapsed. JD Vance, excellent. Punching emoji, American flag emoji, fire emoji. Like, this can't be real life. This can't be real. Wild AF, Pauletta. Wild. Like, what? They're just patting each other on the back. Great work, all. Powerful start. Like the biceps emoji from Witkoff, y'all make me sick. Great work and effects. Really great work. God bless. And then he has some screenshots of the members of the group. You, Michael Waltz, the admin. So he's the one who's really, like, should have his feet to the fire. But I have a clip, which I will show on Twitch when we move to that stream only, of Trump addressing, you know, how he feels about Michael Waltz and how everything has shaken out in this relationship. Scott B., Walker Barrett, Brian, Pete Hegseth, Jacob, Dan Katz, Joe Kent, SM, Mar twice, Mike Needham, John Radcliffe, Susie Wiles, TG, JD Vance. Like, I don't know. I'm in some signal chats where people have their full government names, and I'm just like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Ooh wee, I would never. Good luck to you, though. Good luck to you, though. I don't accept it, Pookie Bear, but I do realize it's real life and it's white supremacy. The whole point is that I don't accept it, and that's why I live my life in the way that I do. Yeah, Linda. It's the emojis like that really... Yes, Marco Antonio Rubio, who was in there twice, apparently. And yes. Yes. This is the bad place. Anyways, it's already been 30 minutes, y'all. So in the interest of keeping this short, as I promised, I'm going to wrap it up there, and we're going to move over to Twitch. Let's say 4:45. I'll jump on Twitch, and then we can actually go through some of these clips where we're seeing this play out, where we're seeing Trump even find out what signal is and what had happened, because he ain't even know. Yeah. All right, that's it for now, y'all. I appreciate everyone who's joined me on YouTube. If you want to keep the party going, please join us over on Twitch. Yes. No need to apologize. I'm just making my politic clear. Make sure y'all stay safe, stay dangerous, and never trust anyone who uses his full government name in a signal chat. Bye.